The perfect first date. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the city as Ethan adjusted his tie nervously. He stood outside the quaint little cafe they had agreed to meet at, his heart pounding like a drum. He had been single for years, but something about her, her smile and her profile picture, the way her words seemed to dance in their text conversations, had drawn him in. Her name was Clara, and tonight was their first date. The cafe was cozy, with soft jazz playing in the background and the scent of freshly brewed coffee filling the air. When Clara walked in, Ethan felt his breath catch. She was even more beautiful in person, her auburn hair catching the light, her eyes sparkling with warmth. They talked for hours, laughing over shared stories and discovering how much they had in common. She was witty, kind, and had a way of making him feel like he was the only person in the room. As the night wore on, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that this was the start of something special. When they finally said goodbye, Clara smiled softly and said, "I had a great time, Ethan. Let's do this again soon." He watched her walk away, her figure disappearing into the night, and he couldn't stop smiling. He texted her when he got home. "Tonight was amazing. Let me know when you're free again." But she never replied. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan's messages to Clara went unanswered. He tried calling, but her phone was always off. At first, he told himself she was just busy, but as time passed, a gnawing worry settled in his chest. He couldn't understand how someone who had seemed so interested could just vanish without a trace. Desperate for answers, Ethan decided to visit the cafe where they had met. Maybe the staff had seen her or knew something. The barista, a friendly woman named Mia, recognized him immediately. "You're the guy who was here with Clara, right?" she asked. Ethan's heart leapt. "Yes, do you know where she is?" Mia's expression darkened. "I don't know where she is, but you're not the first guy to come looking for her." Ethan's stomach churned. "What do you mean?" Mia hesitated, then leaned in closer, lowering her voice. "Clara comes in here every few months, always with a different guy. They have a great time just like you did, and then she disappears. No one ever hears from her again." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. Why would she do that? Mia shook her head. "I don't know, but there's something off about her. Be careful." Ethan couldn't let it go. He needed to know what had happened to Clara. He started digging into her life, searching for any clues he could find. Her social media profiles were sparse, with only a few photos and no recent activity. He tried reverse searching her pictures, but they led nowhere. It was as if she didn't exist. Then one night, he received a message from an unknown number. It was a single sentence: "Stop looking for her." Ethan's heart raced. Who was this? And why were they warning him? He replied, demanding answers, but the number went silent. The message only fueled his determination. He began visiting places Clara had mentioned during their date, a park she liked, a bookstore she frequented, but no one seemed to know her. One evening, as he walked through the park, he noticed a figure watching him from a distance. It was a woman with auburn hair. His heart leapt. "Clara," he called out, but as he approached, the figure turned and walked away. He chased after her, but she vanished into the shadows. When he reached the spot where she had been standing, he found a small, folded piece of paper on the ground. It read, "You shouldn't have come back." Ethan's search led him to an old abandoned house on the outskirts of town. According to a local historian, the house had once belonged to a family named Hartley, who had mysteriously disappeared decades ago. The last surviving member was a young woman named Clara Hartley. Ethan's blood ran cold. Could it be the same Clara? He entered the house, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. The air was thick with dust and the walls were lined with faded photographs. One of them caught his eye, a picture of a young woman who looked exactly like Clara. Beneath it was a date, 1947. Ethan's mind raced. This couldn't be real. But as he explored further, he found a journal hidden in a drawer. It belonged to Clara Hartley, and the entries told a chilling story. Clara had fallen in love with a man who had betrayed her, leading to her family's downfall. Heartbroken and desperate, she had made a deal with a mysterious figure to ensure she would never be hurt again. The deal granted her immortality, but at a cost. She could never truly love anyone. Every time she grew close to someone, she would disappear, leaving behind only memories. Ethan was still processing what he had read when he heard a voice behind him. I told you to stop looking for me. He turned to see Clara. Why didn't you tell me? He asked, his voice trembling. Because I didn't want to hurt you, she replied. Ethan stepped closer, his heart breaking. There has to be another way. We can figure this out together. Clara shook her head. It's too late for me. But you, before he could stop her, she turned and walked away, her figure fading into the darkness. Ethan never saw Clara again. He tried to move on, but the memory of her haunted him. He often found himself returning to the cafe, hoping to catch a glimpse of her. But she was gone, leaving behind only a story of love, loss, and the price of immortality.